everybody. Happy holidays. This is BlockCerts' last presentation for the year, and I'm really excited to tell you what we've accomplished in 2023, what BCert tokens are about, what BlockCerts AI, which we started rebranding and creating at the beginning of this year, is all about, and most importantly, what MAIAi in 2023 ushered in as we completed our mission to create the super app for every BCert holder. This is the first platform in the world, and I can say that I've been all over Asia. I was gone for the entire month of November, and we can say with confirmation that no place else in the world has what BlockCerts AI has right now, that is held and owned and continuing to distribute to all BCert token holders. So the first thing I want to point out is, what is AI and why do we need to know about it, and why do you need to know about it and be part of the AI next internet, what we call Web 4.0. AI is a neural network, and it knows no boundaries. Neural networks cannot operate, and AI cannot operate without two things: vast data and vast functional resources. So a super app or a platform, an entire internet platform, is necessary. It's not so foreign to think about that when you think about who currently you hear about AI from. Microsoft, OpenAI. OpenAI and Microsoft are synonymous. Microsoft controls OpenAI through them being the largest investor. Google, Amazon, yes, Apple, Alexa, Siri, all those things you talk to, all AI, every single one of them. And they're all big, big platforms. They're so big, they're $11 trillion as of the current market cap. Putting that in perspective, the rest of the tech industry, everything else, is 3.5 trillion. So when we talk about giant control, that's what we're talking about. Microsoft alone, I believe, is over $2.3 trillion, and Apple is the most valuable company in the world. We're going to talk about what it means to come into the next internet and the next phase of that kind of an economy that we built over the last 50 years on the internet. There's never been a transformation like this since the internet was created. The prediction of this next internet will be over $15.7 trillion of new economic growth. The only thing you should fear about AI is not being involved, learning it, and having a part of it. And the way that you will do that is through a super app. According to Gartner, by 2027, 50% of the population will be using more than one super app. All this time we took at BlockCerts was to create a super app. Now, here's a fun little backstory. BERT, B-E-R-T, was the first GPT language, and it stands for Bidirectional Enterprise Redirected Transformer. That was invented by Google in 2017. In 2017, when we stood up BlockCerts, I was already working on AI and looking at it. So AI is not new to us. And I started calling it authenticated intelligence. If today you go to authenticatedintelligence.com, you'll land on BlockCerts. Now, the C is an insertion between BERT And so BCert, when I started talking about this, I called it the programmable token. What it actually was doing is anticipating where we're at today in AI. So today we have all of these functions in a super app, and MAIA, RAI, or Mission Authenticated Intelligence for AI, is the foundation of the BlockCerts platform and deep integrated technology. We took two technologies, we combined them together, and we did that so we could distribute the ownership and the web on a decentralized basis to every individual who owns a token. And I'm going to talk about what that means as we go through. Okay. First of all, let's understand some very fundamental things about the internet. Traditional websites are dead. By the end of 2024, any organization, any website that does not have an AI-enabled presence will be over. Google's changed its algorithms already, obviously has been working on that for many, many years, and has Bard and now Gemini to aid in looking for really digital information, and tracking all of that is their business model. There are currently 309,000 site owners and about 470,000 active sites. That results today in a revenue stream of about $124 billion. By 2027, that'll be $345 billion. Why is that important to BlockCerts? Because we're announcing today that BlockCerts has completed and enabled AI or GPT enabled hosting. Every domain certain that comes up will allow a user quite simply to buy their own authenticated intelligence domain, put their URL in for their website, and MAIA will know everything about the public facing elements of that website, and will start making those sites interactive at first with chat. But instead of a chat GPT, imagine every chat or MAIA chat talking about that website. Also imagine no more fraud or fakes or spoofed websites, because on our web internet, any site that's not attached to a domain certain and has a certificate from domain certain and BlockCerts, which is what it's about, will be marked and tagged as fraud or spoofed. A backstory. Robert found out from a sad story that an individual was spoofed on a website that used our images at BlockCerts and the BlockCerts name, and this individual lost tens of thousands of dollars by some fraud that was perpetrated somewhere in the world. They didn't check BlockCerts.com. They didn't check BlockCerts AI. They didn't go and look and verify before they sent their money that it was going to a spoofed or fake site. Within a few hours, thanks to our chief security officers, when we found this, the site was taken down and blocked. BlockCerts is a registered trademark, and our technology is patented. So that was a flagrant breaking of the law. This happens all the time to people. The internet is too big and AI is too smart to prevent that, except with the model that we've created at BlockCerts. Every BCert token holder is going to benefit from that kind of an internet and from the structure that we've put in place for this hosting model and MAIA GPT enabled hosting. What does it do? It's secure. It learns. It markets and sells. It does customer service on every site. And that's the basics. That's just the basics. And ChatGPT, as crazy as it is, was only a year ago. On November 26, 2022, it was released. and it became the fastest growing app in history. We expect BlockCerts to start taking off at that same trajectory. I'm going to tell you why. BlockCerts has built the entire infrastructure of the internet, from the DNS to the security, from authenticated intelligence. You don't get on and you cannot operate BlockCerts unless you're authenticated and unless you own one BCert token at a minimum. Therefore, BlockCerts is the first authenticated platform with search embedded that will prevent any kind of fakes, spoofs, hacks, and we do a lot of work in that. The future of SEO will depend and does depend immediately upon this kind of presence. And our search is tied in to Google. We completed authenticated ownership. Authenticated ownership, most people think of NFTs as cool digital artwork. We never did. We always knew that this was a cybersecurity, a way to eliminate fakes, frauds, hacks, AI violations of intellectual property, and secure IP from unauthorized use. 15 hours ago, 17 hours ago now, it was announced that Apple will be pulling its Apple Watch from losing a case for taking IP and putting it into their watch on health biometrics. So any of you that own the latest Apple Watch, you're using stolen IP, according to the court system. And it will be pulled. It's been pulled online as of the 21st. And I believe they said they're pulling it from all their stores after Christmas. So nobody is beyond. In fact, the owner of the medical device company that went after Apple on this said, and I agree with this, nobody, even the most valuable company in the world, is above the law. NFT Certain helps create that kind of structure and ownership that will not be violated and that will give the people who are following Web 4.0 control over their IP. That's absolutely critical, not only in today's world, but in an AI-based world. We all know AWS is a big power component of cloud software, but did you know it's the largest profit center of Amazon? Why is that important? Amazon used their own core operational infrastructure. They had to have that for retail. They had to have that originally for selling books. They had to use this kind of infrastructure and build this mass expansive thing just to run what their original basic business was. And they came upon an idea. Jeff Bezos came upon an idea. I've got excess capacity. What if I rent it out? It's that simple. Today, it represents 74% of the overall value of Amazon operating profits. So when you own or have that kind of power and ownership as a platform, you have a massive opportunity profit. Today, that's what BCert token holders have and BlockCerts is. We have 986 live functions to date. We have a downloadable browser. We have every function on mobile apps for both Android and Apple. We have a download for the wallet where every transaction is measured, and we have complete trust, truth, and transparency. In fact, at BlockCerts, for over a year now, our entire company is hashed to the blockchain. You could see if we allowed you what we did every 5 minutes. Take that for a moment and think. Could FTX have happened with that? Could they have gotten away with all of that money and all of that fraud with that? That's what trust, truth, and transparency means in practice. BlockCerts is about putting, and has always been about putting, BCert, remember, BERT, transformer technology, invented by Google, not OpenAI. In fact, OpenAI wrote the paper a year later in 2018 when Elon and Altman got together, and then they raised $1 billion. BlockCerts did this all based on real work, experience, proprietary patented code, and a hell of a lot less than $1 billion. We did it by pure work, and we delivered the reality of the next internet. And that's available today. There are a tremendous amount of functions in the super app that can be combined in many, many ways. Is it important? As of a couple days ago, December 15th, the SEC announced that any company that is operating, not just public companies, private companies, they've already issued fines for new compliance with cybersecurity laws. That hashing I just told you about is a value proposition. How would you like to have a fine for a cybersecurity law for a transaction that you did that you didn't even know you violated in your business? This isn't an option. These are regulations. The regulations are coming fast and furious, and the regulators don't even quite know what to regulate yet. So when we look at this, we see an executive order from the White House on AI. We see a parliamentary order and mandate from the UK on AI. We see cybersecurity laws. And clearly, we're going to talk a little bit about the regulatory schema of the next iteration of blockchain and crypto. So what we're talking about with hosting, with platform, with super app, and with embedding this new internet on top of what already exists for every company, it's not an option, it's a law. And it's a law that's expanding quickly. Companies will want to adopt that, not create it. Trust me, they don't want to create it. It took us decades to create this. And some of the people here listening today have been with us for many, many years as we've been creating this fully live platform. So why is it important to be a super app? Why do we care? Remember what I said? Neural networks have no boundaries. That's why this works. But you know what's terrible about it? Is when you get on a Microsoft tool now, its AI is being trained by everything you put in. I just recently got something from a Microsoft Office email. We use it very, very rarely. It says, here, let me tell you how you're doing, Tim. I'm like, oh, perfect. Now they would know if we use that. I don't for anything proprietary, but most people do. If we use that, they would know everything that I was thinking about. Is that what we want? Is that what you want for your business? I'm going to explain to you why you don't want that. But let me get through this slide for a moment and explain to you what each of these are doing. Tracking technology at Google, huge masses of data, and it's impressive. If you haven't used Google Bard, go use it. It is very impressive, and it's incredibly helpful. But if you put your proprietary information up there, the instant you put it up there, the instant you ask a question, the instant you use this stuff, they're training their AI and they're selling it to somebody else. It's their business model. Is it wrong? Is it right? We don't know. There's no regulations really technically around AI to say that yet. Obviously, all these guys are in a class action suit. Now, if you're a company that hasn't been aggregating that kind of open data or open AI type data that got all those class action suits started against OpenAI, Microsoft, and Google, then you're somebody like Google Cloud who has been out on an acquisition binge buying up companies like Slack, Tableau, MuleSoft, which is an API company and most people wouldn't know about it, a host of others. And I think the last ticket price during the pandemic was around $60 billion invested. All of that data in Salesforce, all that CRM data and all of that. First, they called it Genie, but the use of the data prompted 2 of the 3 CEOs to resign, prompted the former CEO of Slack to resign. Now they call it Einstein. Here's the problem. Competitor, competitor, competitor. They are all competitors. They have zero motivation and zero intention of letting their AIs talk to each other. Market share is critical. What can you do if you don't have Google that owns 90% of the world's data, at least? Google, on the other hand, just lost an antitrust suit to Fortnite for their pricing practices. What does it take to take on a Google, a Microsoft, or a Salesforce? In fact, Microsoft says openly, there's an article, you can Google it and find it, that they say, if you get sued, just send it to us, we'll take care of it. Of course they will. With trillions of dollars, legal is a business model. It's a cost of doing business. So if you want to be independent, it's getting tougher and tougher. We created MAIAi and we created the BlockCerts AI engine to go across all. Microsoft, OpenAI, Bard, and I'm pleased to announce our team is now standing up, and by January, we will be on IBM as well. We're completely agnostic and completely independent. Why do you want something like that in your life, in your business? I'll tell you. AI loses context and flow, just like most siloed traditional software does. If all of these are in multiple platforms, it becomes quite inefficient. It creates barriers between teams and customers. It reduces business productivity. It does all these things. Plus, user and data, what I just explained, was users and data is the dollar machine behind centralized companies. So not only are you, every time you click and put that information into those machines, monetizing them, you're also giving them a way to be captive in their infrastructure, and you're going to have to use multiple infrastructures and try and assemble that yourself. How's that worked out so far for the world? It's been very risky. Holes create cybersecurity breakages, and it's costly. It's extremely expensive because you have to buy a seat fee for every one of those you use. I'm going to tell you why seat fees are going to go away and why these companies are rushing to get monetization in other ways. We've seen it in other industries already. We've seen the pushback of ads. Now Twitter, or I guess it's X now, and Meta, I guess it used to be Facebook, want to charge you monthly for not giving you ads on data you put in. It's crazy. And they're all rushing for a different business model. Let's talk about what that different business model is and why BCert token holders own it. First, when you bring that SuperAPP training and transformation technology, transformer technology into MAIAi and into BlockCerts, you own your own secure virtual space. That's our patent. The secure virtual space, you own it. It does all of these things, and control stays with the MAIAi users. MAIAi works independently, keeping all of the information that you have proprietary inside it, giving you all of that function and access. With one token, you have the same access to all of those 986 functions that a million tokens has. It levels the playing field. Now, of course, you're going to have to use it based on volume. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. Maya doesn't care who it talks to. OpenAI, Watson, Bard, Meta, Alexa. We can have Maya, and you can have Maya talk to anybody and any AI and get knowledge from the outside and bring it inside and do it in a conscious way as to what your objective is. What are those objectives? Retail has been out there for a long time in e-commerce and various things, doing all of these things, aggregating so they could sell online. That's what made Amazon, Shopify, and all these companies. Services, the critical services that we use every day, that we need every day, services businesses have not had that benefit yet. AI is going to transform those services and our personal lives. So imagine what Maya can do if you need to manage your insurance, your mobile phone, your family schedules, and you don't want all of that being public information. Some of us don't. Most of us don't. We want to have privacy. If you do that in your business, imagine managing all of your vendors, all of your customers, all of that with less staff and an engine, a machine that grows in intelligence, grows in value, and can emulate multiple people without adding multiple layers of overhead and new training every time. AI doesn't forget anything. Once you put it in there, it's always there. Now, that's an important point. Once you put it in there, it's always there, meaning that when you train this, it's like the top talent in your company that will never be poached, that will keep secrets if you ask it to, that will follow your instructions. And our training model allows what we call proxy training, so that only the people empowered to train the model, so it doesn't suffer from what is currently a common known problem in AI, hallucinations or misinformation. In other words, the authenticated intelligence model is embedded, and we are able to do that because of blockchain. So bringing AI and blockchain together solved a tremendous amount of problems. And we didn't just come up on this. Like I said, we started on this when our first blockchain came live in 2016, 2017. So how does that all work out? Like, what does that mean? So I was trying to think about what it means to own a new class of digital asset. What does that look like? Well, let's talk first about what the size of the market is. And as I do that, I'm going to talk about what that looks like. But I want you to think about process. I want you to think about profitability. I want you to think about ownership. I want you to think about what can we relate to in our current world that is very much like that. And most of us have been there. It's called McDonald's. McDonald's largest asset by far is real estate. About 70% of their asset base is real estate. Owning your own digital platform is like owning the land. And McDonald's was really, really shrewd about that. There's a great movie called The Founder with Michael Keaton in it. You should watch it if you haven't. It's great about how owning the land created passive income to the corporation while they found worthy franchise owners. Okay. So when you do that, our digital world looks a lot like that. And you can think of all the top brands that we visit. Almost every one of them has a hybrid model that's a franchise as well as a corporate structure. McDonald's, Starbucks, Yum Corporation, which is Taco Bell and KFC and Pizza Hut, Domino's. There's emerging brands out there. I made a list over here. Let me tell you what the list is, because it crosses every industry. You've got the idea of that's all fast food. Then you got real estate, Better Homes and Gardens, Remax, Keller Williams, Service Base, Jan Pro Cleaning System, Snap-on Tools, the UPS store, others that are the fastest growing. There's Stratus Building Solutions, Joey and Mike Jersey Mike Subs, Goosehead Insurance, Signal Private Security, Wingstop, Build My Brand, which is a digital play, only one, Minuteman Press, Chem Dry Clean. If you want to build a revenue base and you own the asset and the underlying fundamental, and what do these models do? They enable and teach process by the type of business that they're in. That's what BlockCerts is about. And we're doing it right now. We've got some very, very active channel partners who, frankly, that's our biggest use case provider. They're bringing huge use cases to us. Some most I can't even tell you about. And they're BCert token holders, and that's how they're going to profit. That's one way they're going to profit. But let's talk about another way. Let's talk about what a new digital asset class looks like. And that new digital asset class is a combination that has never been made available before now. And that is the idea of digital utility, technology, use, and blockchain trading. If you combine those two products, those two platforms, it's an 8.1 estimated 8.3 to 8.1 to 8.3 trillion dollar unaddressed market. It's a huge unaddressed market. World IT spending forecasts, according to Gartner, is $5.1 trillion. See all these different areas here? Communications, IT, software, devices, data center. That's what BlockCerts had to build to become and call itself a super app. All of that infrastructure, not one section. We didn't just do software as a service. We did it all. We did it all. And the reason is in order to transform a non-limited neural network AI engine and a non-limited distributed platform like a blockchain into a functional utility. This is why you don't see functional utility at scale in blockchain. In order to do that, you have to have it all. So for those of you that have been with us for a while, some time, sorry, it took us a little bit of time to accomplish the impossible, but we have, and it's fully live. And hats off to our team members who are here. These guys are brilliant all over the world, covering 17 countries. And let me point that out. We're like a neural network. And here's the thing. MAIAi now speaks 5 languages, and we've got an expert in every one of those languages. Think about that for a minute. We're not restricting anywhere in the world, and we built and did what we said we were going to do, and we are tremendously successful at doing that. I always have to laugh, and I've laughed quite a bit when people are like, when are you going to trade, Tim? I'm going to explain to you trading. But those of you who are at BCert and have been founders of these early tokens, I'm still here having this conversation. Sam is going to be arraigned for life in prison in March. People were asking me why I wasn't on FTX. What can I say? Because there's an $8.3 trillion market out there, plus another 15.7 trillion that PwC says is going to emerge in AI. So how do you make money with that? Well, I explained to you, I think, and I assume most of you would know how franchises sell products, package, and make money. So we get these great ideas of packages and industries. I'm getting bombarded by some of our most dedicated, engaged channel partners and associates. Like, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this. Yes, we could. The question is, what's the best ones to do? Because we can't do it all. So even McDonald's, Starbucks, and all of these business models that are out there that are incredibly successful have a hybrid model. And the hybrid model is some of it the business will do, some of it the franchise owners have to do. The truth is, it benefits everybody within that ecosystem. And that's how BlockCerts is set up. It's how we make money. B-certs are at par today. They're valued at par with Inc. Now, this is the interesting thing about Inc. And on this one slide, if you walk away completely confused about everything else in this webinar, understand the difference that utility makes in this $8.3 trillion market today and how it will evolve into a 15.7 new unaddressed market with AI. Understand this one thing. B-certs are at par today, valued at $10 each retail, and Inc. is a stable coin valued at $10 per 100,000 Inc. As the value of a B-cert rises against the cost, it's a hedge against the tech function cost. What that means is a B-cert's always related one B-cert to 100,000 Inc. If a B-cert today is $10 and it goes to $100, and I can trade it for $100, I still own 90, I can go pay my 10. Meaning technically, just like Amazon, you're renting out, you can get all of that excess capacity, profit out of it. That's what it means. You're driving, the Inc. cost is stable. So that's the market cost, that's the market pricing of the actual technology, the actual underlying product, the actual underlying app service. So as B-certs go up, the Inc. price stays stable, the cost makes it less expensive to run your platform or even the BlockCerts platform. Now, since there's a finite number of B-certs and an infinite amount of Inc., that's the economics and financial models. And I'm going to do in the new year, for B-cert token holders only, a financial metrics model that will explain these concepts that we're going through. Now, the important thing, and I told you I would tell you why the SaaS industry is going to suffer and why they're scrambling to make money. If what I said has any basis to it at all, and if an AI engine can say replace 5 jobs, 10 jobs, 100 jobs, and maybe create its own department. I always tell CEOs, I've told several CEOs this recently, public company CEOs, that you can't think of AI as software. It's not software. It's more like recruiting a staff or buying a factory and starting to fill it up with valuable assets to create your product. That's what it is. But let's assume it's the person side of it. And I can eliminate 10, 15, 100 existing jobs to do what I do. I don't need seat fees anymore, do I? I need one seat. The seat fee model is over. It's been over for a long time. It has to be based on that incremental volume. Incremental volume is what drives economics. We talk about the volume of currency transactions. We talk about the volume of credit card transactions. Volume is what makes a difference. That's what Amazon, Azure, and the cloud guys got right. Volume is what makes mobile phones work. There's another great documentary, you can watch it, called BlackBerry. And my favorite line, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it, but when BlackBerry missed on the device, the actual hardware device against the iPhone, there's a phone call with the with Verizon, and the line is this: "We've sold a lot of minutes for you." He's talking to the CEO of Verizon, who's just dropping BlackBerry in favor of Apple. And the CEO is going on vacation. He's headed towards his airplane. He goes, "There's a problem with a minute. There's only one of them." And he hangs up. Mobile phone was about data. Cellular growth and expansion and mobile has always been about data. What's the plan you worry about? Data. In the US, in the early days of cell phones, how many text messages? That made the minute incremental. It made it almost irrelevant. That's a seat fee. So not only do we have downward pressure, if we're able to eliminate jobs, we're able to eliminate costs inside the company. We're able to eliminate overhead with payroll as well as with seats. That's both physical and costs on license fees. And one last thing, just to confuse you a little more, this whole idea of work from anywhere, it's here. It's here to stay. It's going to grow and it's going to be bigger. Why do you need a super app that puts a wrapper around all this in a secure virtual space? I say this to CEOs all the time. "Oh, we're going to get people to come back to the office. Good luck with that. Where's your AI going to work? Which physical location are you going to have it in?" That's the world today. And that's the shift. So when we get into this, we get into, well, what does that actually look like? A BCert and Inc. model, which I engineered way back in 2016 when I saw how Ethereum was working, because you had to separate out that cost component, that gas component, from the token. If that token goes up to $4,000, which Ethereum did, or that Bitcoin goes up to $70,000, which Bitcoin did, then if your cost component is in there, your transaction cost would become far, far, far too expensive. And it did. It became way too expensive to reasonably run a transaction. The second problem with Ethereum early days that I recognized was smart contracts. These are contracts. If you ran a contract and it failed in computer terms by code, but in negotiation terms by what we do every day in business, "Oh, I want to change this, I want to tweak that," you lost all your gas up to that point because you ran the transaction. And while it's true, it is from a computer geek standpoint, it is absolutely true that that transaction costs money on that platform. Just like everything we do on Inc. costs 0.00001 Inc. So we're paying the cost. The fact is, contracts stop and start all the time until they finally hit a successful conclusion. So if every time you start and stop, you have to start at the beginning again with your cost, nobody would ever use it. And I recognize that however many years ago 2016 was. It's a long time ago, 8 years ago. So the point is, we re-engineered this for what everybody now calls DeFi. And that becomes a hedge against digital assets. What does that mean? Okay, so if I already told you that that digital technology is 4.7 trillion, and we know that the blockchain crypto market hit around 3.3 trillion or something like that. So if we estimate about an $8.1 trillion unaddressed market, and then you add 15.7 trillion for what PwC says is sizing the market of AI, you're somewhere north of, what is that, 23, 24 trillion dollars. It's about, that equals, I think, about 30% of the overall global economy right now. Okay, so if we do that, and then you start looking at these really smart guys opening up EFTs and saying to $1 trillion plus Wall Street gain, and it bumped the Bitcoin and Ethereum and XRP price up by about $700 billion. But these guys are not yet combining utility like BlockCerts. That's all based only on assumptions of traditional software costs. But the really smart people already know, and the technology companies already know, that incremental pricing is going to be where it's at. So they're going to continue to offer convenience and services to all their business customers so that they can aggregate against those business customers and keep that incremental pricing flowing solely into their centralized corporations for the benefits of their stakeholders, not for the benefits of their users. Because today, 100%, and this is why it's a hedge, 100% of your dollar spent on technology is cost. There is no upside. There is no upside other than what you do with that technology. And if you don't use it for a month, you still paid the cost. It's like leaving the lights on at home. I don't know about you guys. I've got 5 kids. I've told them for years, turn off the lights. I'm not the utility company. Now you get to be the utility company. And the tech companies are the utility companies. So if you want utility, the only way to own AI utility, your intelligence, and I don't care if you're personal or your business, the only way to hold that is in a secure virtual space like we created and patented at BlockCerts. Okay? So step 1, centralized exchanges failed. We'll talk about how they're coming back, but they failed. Flat out. Coinbase, all of them. Anybody who, we did have a contract with Coinbase to list right before they started getting slammed by the SEC. We got an opening. It was an exclusive contract, in fact. We backed out in August. We signed it in April. We backed out in August, I think, of 2022. Right before everything cratered. BlockCerts has created its own, what we call our auction exchange, and it will release in January 2024. So when you build your packages, when you build your business, when you build your model, when you have your BlockCerts components, and as we start releasing more BCert tokens out there, you will now be able to create your own auction. This auction can be for a business. It can be for any business model you want. It's the first platform to combine on a decentralized basis the ability to transact, trade, and move value completely decentralized based on a new digital asset class. And that new digital asset class is the combination of utility and blockchain and AI. That's what that digital class is. It's super exciting. I have tried it. I have seen it work in the background, and it works from every wallet that it's enabled in. And when I say that it's enabled in, it will be based on certain rules for certain BCert token holders. That's step 1. That's how you create what is needed in order to make this new ecosystem evolve. What is needed isn't trading. BlockCerts, in fact, BCert tokens can be traded on a decentralized basis today, wallet to wallet. Anybody can transfer their BCert tokens that hold them to anybody, and we have no control over that. So we're already vastly decentralized. This next iteration allows for that bidding mechanism, and that bidding mechanism is going to be very interesting. So you can kind of think of it as Kickstarter meets eBay meets an open structure for, hey, you came up with a new business model and you want to sell that process and so forth to others and let them get involved. Okay, so all of that is enabled, and our wallet technology ties in to the front end, which I'm not going to show you right now, but when we do the launch, there will be a launch about that. And again, like I said, I'll explain some of these more complex financial sciences and DeFi and utility-fi concepts and how to do them in the next webinar. Step 2. We are currently working with some of the largest data providers in the world on what's been happening on blockchain, and DeFi, or decentralized finance, that continued to survive. It's actually thriving right now because centralized exchanges got hammered so bad. So we have already at BlockCerts built the infrastructure to swap to a larger footprint. Even I had trouble defining what that swap would look like. The swap was based on the idea of a token that was native to Ethereum versus the token that was native to BCert. So we pulled that back, rethought it, and now that also will be launching in Q1 2024. Finally, I spent the time and we had a tremendous trip to Asia. I was there with Peter Peng, who is our senior engineer, data scientist, resident genius on our platform. And we spent weeks in Asia. And the reason we did is Hong Kong has come up with a regulatory framework for blockchain, and it's booming. We met with the largest digital asset trading platform, and we're continuing to work in Hong Kong. We've established presence, people in Hong Kong, and step 3 is compliant centralized exchanges, and that's where the world's going to end up. So trading in concept, now this is all speculation. This is also all speculation, DeFi, and this is the first combination of utility and trading capacity for bidding and upside. Or, obviously there's risk. There's not always upside. There's downside too. But this is the 3-step process. And no, it's not linear. And again, I just go back to all those questions that I was asked all those years. In fact, with our new DeFi associate partner, who I can't talk about yet, and we'll make announcements soon, we talked about when we were turning things down in the middle of the heat and how people thought we were crazy or dumb. Today, I don't feel so dumb. I feel very fortunate, and I'm very pleased with the business decisions we made at BlockCerts for all our BCert community token holders, that we were able to go all in and create this kind of a platform for all of you and all of us. It's exciting. It's something that keeps me up, and you can ask anybody, literally keeps me up all night long working and making this happen. BCert Inc. is a hedge that turns cost into profit. How do we know that that's real? How do you know that's real? Go to OpenAI pricing and look what they call their pricing model. I just lifted this out. Prices are per 1,000 tokens. OpenAI started out with 0 revenue at the beginning of 2023, projected to be 80 billion within a year. That's what they were projected at. Who knows with the Sam Altman kerfuffle that happened, and I won't get into why that happened, but it's a pretty interesting story. Okay? BCert Inc. distributes tech profitability to the community. That's what that's actually doing. That's what I'm trying to convey here. This is priced at an incremental rate. Look at that. 1,000 tokens is 1 cent. Our current minimum on BlockCerts to get onto the platform is 5 cents. The login is 5 cents, which means if you logged in and stayed logged in every single day of the year, 365 days, it would cost you $18.70 a year, basically 2 BCert tokens, which works out to be about $1.52 a month, which means anybody on the planet can have access to this platform and all those tools I talked about and the super app and run it. Based on volume, incremental volume our Inc. will take over and start pricing on a fair per use basis, not on a license fee basis. If these guys are doing it and they built that, we already had it and we built it. We disrupt the profit consolidation of cloud SaaS fees. And we turn it back over to our BCert holder community. So there's a couple ways that BCert holder community benefits. One is just by owning BCerts, because when you own BCerts, you're part of this community. And those profits have nowhere else to go. What does that mean? What does that mean? The last piece I want to explain to you about the engineering of this was they're recyclable. When you spend something, here's what happens. When you spend $1 at a store or on your credit card and it goes into that store, what does the store do? They pay their overhead and they hope they have a margin at the other end of it, right? They pay their costs. This platform operates the exact same way. It pays its costs. Electricity's not free. Servers aren't free. Developers aren't free. Code's not free. Creating code's not free. Storing big buckets of data aren't free any more than leases or rent or anything in a store is free. And at the end, there's an incremental amount left over. That's the profit. Hopefully, there's a profit left over. A lot of times there's not. Okay, so what happens to that token or that ink, you should ask yourself, when it goes in? And I think too few people think about this. It goes somewhere. It goes back into BlockCerts. It goes back into the platform. So what happens, and this is really important to understand, what happens in the blockchain, and this happens with Bitcoin and it happens with Ethereum. You always heard about miners. The miners are the ones, as transaction volume went up, that whether the price of the Ethereum coin or the Bitcoin was high or low, they were always making money. Transaction fees never go away. They just never go away. They're always there. So engineering, the cloud companies understand that. The technology companies understand that. And OpenAI, when they priced at an incremental basis, just like BlockCerts was engineered to price. I already explained to you the problem with tying a highly volatile token without stabilizing that because you couldn't do transactions. I knew that in 2016. Right? So when we get into that, we were able to match a monetization immediately. It was similar to these guys, except all they're doing is creating internal tokens that are not distributed and they're keeping them to themselves. They're not on blockchain. They're on Microsoft. And Microsoft put in the $13.5 billion into OpenAI, plus the tons of money that they're investing into their Microsoft Copilot and their own platform. And they expect a big return on investment. They expect a big percentage, maybe the majority of the percentage of that $15.7 trillion that PwC is recommending or is projecting. What we're saying at BlockCerts is, doesn't have to be that way. We can play too. BCert community token holders can play too. And we can distribute this. That's a better model. So it becomes the hedge. It turns a new digital asset class into a profit center, which right now the technology companies have pinned down as a complete 100% cost center. That's how BlockCerts makes money. Who's adopting us and who's starting to understand this? That's been very hard to explain to people until they got afraid that their private technology was going to train all the other guys' AI engines and their competitors for that matter. So our growth of our use cases and companies coming to us that I never anticipated getting in the door. us knocking out or at least stalling these big guys from coming in and providing infrastructure, new infrastructure to these companies. Some of the biggest names in the business are on hold, and people are talking to us at BlockCerts. So there are Fortune 500 companies in that I talk to. There are public company CEOs, really exciting, brilliant new public companies like Abacus, who we started building a blockchain with, that went public in July. Go look at their stock. They're highly profitable. CEO's brilliant. And it's just a very cool business model. I just love what they're doing. And the things I can't talk about that were under NDA. So again, what's the platform? Most of these projects are what I would call our channel partners aggregating their investment, their commitment to BlockCerts, and bringing them to us. So I'm always on with one of our amazing channel partners or something. I'm not doing this. I was in Hong Kong, sponsored by the Canadian government, and we are building those there. But yes, of course, this is all what's happening. And for the first time in history, these giant companies are looking at their infrastructure and questioning, is that the road to the future? So the question at the end of all this is, what is the road to the future? We believe the road to the future is the BCert token, is the Inc. model, is BlockCerts, and is the SuperAPP. And with that, I'm going to cut this off and say thank you very much. That's been an hour of me talking, which is more than enough for anybody to hear at Christmas time and the holidays. And I hope I've given you a high level. Here's where we go from here. We will be releasing and letting you know our new hosting model that's coming out. We will be letting you know how our business template model and our franchise-like model is rolling out to help with all those brilliant ideas we have, that you all have. And if you're already a BCert token holder, we will let you know how that financial model actually works in all of those ideas. I'm going to let you know over time how this digital asset class is forming up. And how am I going to do that at scale? It's called MAIAi. And if you haven't seen it already, we released our first intelligent reporter newsletter. And I just saw a question and answer. I'll do a question and answer, but we released our first intelligent reporter newsletter. MAIAi will summarize all of this knowledge, and at certain levels, because we're like anybody else, we're going to tell our community members how to do things, our BCert holders how to do things, and we're going to tell the world what we want them to know about BlockCerts, and MAIAi is going to moderate that for us. Okay, but this intelligent newsletter and MAIAi is already being built on all of my knowledge. We've got a really cool project coming up I can just touch on called MAIA Earth, and how MAIA is going to do Earth-oriented planet climate change things, how it's going to secure, authenticate AI, so we have safe, distributed, or what I like to call equitable, ethical, and enlightened AI instead of the scary AI everybody's talking about. MAIA is all of that. And I'm already amazed at what MAIA can do and has done in our own BlockCerts environment to limit our costs and overhead so we could continue to do this, how fast it's coming up, and how we're moving forward. So with that, let me answer a few questions. I'll stop sharing and I'll look. I saw one. If I keep my website with my current regular host, do I need to buy a BlockCerts domain name? Yes. If you keep your BlockCerts with your current host, you buy a domain name and we give you a piece of code. And then when somebody goes on your site and they say, oh, I want to buy something from you or what have you, it's going to hit our servers and say, and if there's a false site, like I said about that one that happened with BlockCerts, it will tell your customers. So you're actually building trust, truth, and transparency, even if you stay with your own hosting. We will give you a tool to let MAIAi know your website. Obviously, there will be more functionality enabled on our hosting environment because we don't have to make as many connections. So when you keep your current hosting, it's fine and you'll get most of the benefits. You'll get 100% of the benefits by hosting on top of BlockCerts. Transcription. As this is being recorded right now, MAIAi is listening and following, and the MAIAi engine will transcribe this. Once it's available, it will summarize the points, and it also does markers inside the recording. So the way that we will form this up for those people that are entitled to get this and request this will be, again, based on including the deck I just went through, will be MAIAi with dynamics and even more information on each one of those in those sectors that I talked about. So I just touched on the high level, but our AI engine will give you much, much more information, and you'll have access to that, including transcripts and recorded segments and so forth. So anything that you're interested in, you'll just say, MAIAi, I want to listen to this part, and boom, it'll take you there. Which brings me back to why traditional websites are dead. Who's going to sit there and scroll through a website anymore? They're just going to ask questions. And that's what MAIAi is designed to do. And our new, very exciting domain certain MAIAi GPT enabled hosting. Let's see if there's some others here, and then we'll cut it off. I think that the token store was shared. So yes, go to token.blockcerts.com. There is going to be a December gift grab open. So if you do buy B-Certs now, we are going to let you open a gift and get bonus B-Certs, bonus ink, and that will be a surprise. If I told you what it was going to be, you wouldn't be surprised. So it will be a surprise, and it'll be our Secret Santa gift to all of our B-Cert token holders that get in during this period. And you'll have access to that. As soon as you become a B-Cert token holder, you're on that list to get your Secret Santa gift from BlockCerts. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Our wallet download, and our latest wallet is up. Not our latest wallet. We've got one more wallet iteration that does build in that auction into it. I've been testing it. Our team's been testing it, and that's going up. But you can get to the wallet. One thing I should mention, I want to thank everybody for taking the time. It's a busy time of year. I hope everybody has an amazing time with their friends and their families, and health and prosperity finds you the rest of this year, and certainly be with us, because prosperity is going to find all of us. And I can't ever say my appreciation and gratitude for all of our B-Cert holder community, our team members who have given me the opportunity to live this dream, build this dream, and continue to do that every single day. It's what I live for. And so thank you for that. And thank you for all of the generosity and confidence and trust, truth, and transparency you've shared with me. Everybody, thank you. Happy holidays, and super excited to see what 2024 brings in.